Bride of the Fire. The desert dusk was heavy with dust and dread. In the town of Blackthorn Hollow, the square brimmed with villagers clutching torches. Their faces glowed orange from the flames, but their hearts were darker still. At the center stood Clara Mayfield, a bride barely 17, her white dress torn, her wrists bound with coarse rope. She was meant to be wed at sunrise. Instead, at sunset, she was sentenced to burn. Her crime? Refusing the marriage proposal of Bartholomew Crane, the richest rancher in the county, a man older than her father, with a soul as cold as the steel he wore on his hip. Clara's rejection had been public, and Crane's pride could not bear it. He bought lies with gold, whispered that Clara had bewitched young men, that she had cursed his cattle, and the town, eager to bow to wealth, condemned her. Now, the stake awaited. The crowd murmured as men stacked wood beneath her feet. Children peeked from behind skirts. The sheriff, too weak or too bought to resist Crane's power, stood silent. Clara's heart thudded like a hammer in her chest. She prayed not for herself, but for justice. Yet justice seemed as distant as the stars above. "Light it!" someone shouted. The torchbearer stepped forward. And then, bang! A gunshot ripped through the night sky. The torch froze in midair. The mob stilled, silence sweeping the square like a sudden storm. From the shadow of the saloon staggered a tall figure. His boots kicked up dust, his hat tilted low. A revolver smoked in one hand, and in the other dangled a half-empty whiskey bottle. It was Jonah Briggs, the drunken cowboy of legend, a man whispered about in both fear and awe. He was a drifter, outlaw to some, save the last bullet. The square of Blackthorn Hollow stood frozen, the silence broken only by the crackle of dying torches. The drunken cowboy's revolver gleamed in the firelight, and Clara's freed hands shook against her torn dress. Bartholomew Crane, clutching the crowd with his gold and fear, stepped forward, his jaw tight with fury. "You've overstepped, Briggs," he hissed. "This girl belongs to the flames, and if you think your pistol and whiskey can save her, you're a bigger fool than I thought." Jonah Briggs straightened, the drunken sway gone from his shoulders. His voice was clear now, sharp as the click of a hammer. "You think you own this town, Crane, but tonight you'll learn what you really own. Nothing but lies." The rancher pulled his revolver in a flash, aiming straight for Clara. But Jonah was faster. A shot cracked through the air, and Clara's hat spun into the dirt, a bullet hole searing its brim. The crowd gasped. Clara clutched Jonah's arm. "Next bullet ain't for your hat," Jonah warned. Crane's hand trembled, his pride cut deeper than the near miss. "You can't kill me, Briggs. This whole town is mine." Jonah raised his voice so all could hear. "No, Crane, it ain't yours. You bought fear, not loyalty, and now they're seeing you for what you are, a coward who hides behind mobs and money." The townsfolk stirred. Some dropped their torches, others muttered against Crane. Years of resentment cracked beneath Jonah's words like ice thawing in spring. But Crane was not done. With a roar, he drew a second pistol from his coat. "Then I'll kill you both!" He fired wildly, one bullet grazing Jonah's shoulder, another tearing into the stake Clara had been tied to. Splinters flew, and Clara stumbled back, screaming. Jonah staggered but didn't fall. Blood seeped down his sleeve, but his eyes burned with rage. He leveled his revolver, his last bullet chambered. "This ends now," he growled. The crowd held its breath. Clara's heart pounded, her throat dry. The man who had nearly killed her stood ready to end the one who had saved her. And then, Clara did something no one expected. She stepped forward. Her voice rang through the square, trembling yet strong. "This man, Bartholomew Crane, would have burned me alive because I said no to his greed. He called it justice, but justice is not murder. Justice is not fear. Justice is standing with the truth even when it means facing fire. The crowd erupted in shouts, anger now turning on Crane. The sheriff, ashamed, dropped his badge to the dirt. Men who had once obeyed Crane lowered their